Yes, welcome. This is F for Rap Critic. I'm your boy Malik 16, and no, I don't own any backpacks or any Louis Vuitton, but I am here for a special occasion. This is a very, very special episode. I got the pros in the building, one of your favorite podcasters' podcasts. If you're not following them already, you're bugging. I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. Who y'all be?
Yes, I'll go first. We
For
are
once.
we are For All Nerds, comprised of myself, Tatiana King, and the illustrious DJ Benhameen. He'll give his long intro in just a moment, but illustrious intro. I am one of the owners and co-hosts of the For All Nerds podcast, where we talk about geek and pop culture from the perspective of people of color, Black people to be specific. As mentioned, I co-host the show with Benhameen, and we cover everything from film, TV, gaming, and particularly comics. I know that you know me, Malik, talking about and dealing with all things like Marvel and DC Comics and, all of the nerddom, like we like to used to call it or whatever, but really fandom related things. So you'll hear us talk about things like Game of Thrones and, as I mentioned, all the MCU, and we'll give our take, and we'll do it in the way that, like, you and I, we sit in on the yard talking about the latest show that came out. And Ben, he's my brother, right? We've been doing this show for 10 years. So we are just having a conversation with each other. And, we getting these jokes off, we saying whatever, but, we're saying it in a thoughtful way and from a place of experience and a place of expertise as well. So that's just in a nutshell who we are and what I do with For All Nerds. And I'll let Benhameen speak for himself.
Well, yeah, I really don't have a long-ass illustrious intro after that, because you pretty much explained everything. And since you didn't rattle off a bunch of AKAs, I won't do that either. But as Tatiana said, I'm DJ Benhameen. I'm one of the co-hosts of For All Nerds. And the one AKA that I will say right now is that I'm also the author of Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze, which you can pre-order now. It's a graphic novel that hopefully we'll talk about a little bit more on this show. But yeah,
very dope. And we definitely will get into all of the individual endeavors and also what's going on and coming up next for All Nerds. Y'all got me looking like it's 2004. If you're wondering why I might be the last Negro still wearing thermals under t-shirts, because we're going over a very special album. Tatiana is the inspiration for me wearing the
Yes.
TI tipped today. But this album turned 20 years old this year. This is going to be a special rendition, the I Miss the Old Kanye rendition of this show. We're going over the classic album, The College Dropout. This is category 1, where we go over the album, the product itself. All right. If you have not already, take a moment to like and subscribe to the channel. And while you're at it, go check out the raprouleur.com, where you can vote on all the dimensions for all these classic rap albums. Tell a friend to tell a friend. Might be in the App Store soon.
Nice.
But really trying to make it a thing. Yeah, I'll break that. I'll break that down to y'all at some point. This show is connected through a website, which me and another Howard dropout created. And it's basically, we're trying to make it the Rotten Tomatoes for rap.
Oh,
I like that. Finally, somebody Black rating Black music.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you said it, dog.
wow.
I'm so glad you said it, because that's why I started the channel, because I'm like, no one's here for my review and my opinion. So this is not a show where I'm like, here's what I think. I just lay down the dimensions and let people vote themselves, hoping that they go to the Rap Ruler, where there's 10 dimensions in each category to base the criteria on. So every album we do is a classic, but the question is how classic, because maybe it's not a classic when it comes to flow. Maybe the flows were kind of whack, but the songs are memorable. You know what I mean? So we do it like that.
That's great. That's very great. I'm gonna have to check that out. I'm sure there's mad albums I probably want to add.
Oh, absolutely! I can't wait.
I was like, this is a classic.
What's the website again?
It's called the raprouleur.com.
You got the Odd Squad's first album on there?
Nah, see, I knew you were gonna hit me with the obscure.
I'm gonna hit you with Houston shit first.
Yeah, he's from Houston.
It's always gonna be South shit first. It's always gonna be, South. You have every Scarface album on there?
Yeah, I got 2 Scarface.
Okay.
Well, I got Ghetto Boys and
every Scarface album.
This year, Actually, he's gonna be one of the first rappers that have like 3 albums that have been reviewed. So like we're doing the diary this year.
Ooh,
for the anniversary.
Shit.
But I gotta be honest, when I did Ghetto Boys, I was cringing. I was like, ooh.
It's out of control. It's outrageous.
So that's another aspect. Like another thing with the show is that I try to also hold hip hop accountable, because hip hop is grown enough now where I can pull up some old lyrics and be like, bro, you know you were tripping when you said that. That's a rapey line. So
self-awareness.
Absolutely. All right. So if you were keen, you might have noticed Tatiana made some references to the yard and why the yard comes into play. Because like I've done on this channel several times, I bring my Bison family into the fold. And what glues us all together is that we are proud people who have walked across the yard on the infamous HU.
You know.
All right. If y'all don't know what that is, then you're bugging. There's only one. Don't tell my wife.
Oh wow, you know.
Yeah,
wow. She's Hampton.
I'm sleeping with the enemy.
It happens.
Wow.
My sister went to Hampton. Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, my nieces they disappointed me too.
But my sister going is why I went to Howard, so it worked out, you know, because she played herself and I made the right choice.
Oh, when she watches this, man, you know she gonna.
I say it all the time.
Aggravated.
Just say it.
Some of this might get edited.
He knows
out.
the real.
Nah, don't edit this out. Keep
all
that.
of them deep in their hearts know the real. There ain't no way. They can all be like, oh yeah, these Hamptonites, and it's like Hamptonites. Like,
disclaimer, the views and thoughts expressed by For All Nerds.
You mean the institutionites. The institutionites.
The pirates. So a little background on this album. It was released on February 10th of 2004 under Def Jam Rockefeller Records. We're talking the original rock, throw your diamonds in the sky. And, you know, there's no need to really have much more explanation than that. We'll get into it. This is the debut album from Kanye West. The first dimension that we talk about in category 1 is going to be dimension 1, the quality of the production. Can I
especially on that, can I offer a disclaimer, I guess, before we get into this?
Go for it.
I don't know if Tatiana's told you, but like Young Guru is a personal friend of mine, and I was like around him when this was being made. I wasn't in the studio with Kanye, but I've talked to Kanye around this time. This is straight up, and Guru will tell you this story if you ever talk to him. I told him that Kanye would be bigger than Jay-Z at one point, and this was like before Through the Wire even came out. I heard a song by Kanye, My Way. He did a version of My Way that sampled Frank Sinatra.
Yeah.
And I called Guru on the phone like, nigga, this nigga's gonna be bigger than Jay. And he was laughing, and he called Kanye up and we talked for a minute, and then a few weeks later he got in the accident.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know My Way was out before the accident. I remember bumping that.
Oh, hell yeah. My Way is on. I heard it on a Cornerstone mixtape. That's when I heard it.
Yeah. I remember hearing that, bumping that all summer of 2003. And I was like, oh, this dude got it. Because we used to study every rapper that was out.
In the story. And it was like, and I already knew he was a producer, and you know, and I knew his production was so distrusting. When I heard My Way, and I was like, this Negro raps like this and produces like that, it's over, Guru. And he was laughing at me because, it's funny, I was telling the story today because it's like he was too close to him, and he saw him as a dude in the studio with him. He didn't see him as a superstar, where I didn't know this dude, and I was like, this guy's a fucking superstar.
And that's what happens, right?
Yeah. Shout out to Young Guru. I ran into him at the Brooklyn Museum Jay-Z exhibit. I picked the best day, and I was like, yo,
best day. That's my brother for life. We share the same birthday. Man, I love that dude more than life. That's, you know.
So, as objectively as we can get, how would we first describe the production on this album?
It's incredible. But what do you call it? I listened to it right before this shit. I'll still say that shit. So I don't know. I won't say whack. Workout plan, I don't know. It's whatever. But yeah.
Well, that you talk about hindsight, but from an album
at
perspective.
That time.
What you mean? And
I wasn't feeling it, but yeah, I was feeling it back then. But
so
overall,
let's get nerdy. Let's talk about the actual sounds.
Damn.
Let's get nerdy. What are the actual sounds that we'll hear on this album?
A lot of soul samples.
A lot of soul,
and it's the way he chops his samples, especially back then, is so impressive and just so funky. And and then I forget, and it's like this is that time in hip hop when it was like when hip hop was still out of control as far as like budgets and stuff. And what's her name? Miri
Mary Ben Ari.
Mary Ben Ari.
all goddamn over this album, and then had her own album. That's what people forget.
Yeah.
Like, she had her own ass album because of the features on this album, and that's how much hip hop was making money back then.
She had straight solos on like 7 of the tracks.
Yeah, it's like nigga. All right, we get it.
Yeah. I would say this album, just overall sound. I like the word you use. I'm gonna use that too. It's impressive, and I did listen to it again before coming on, and it's also very imaginative, and the way he interpolated himself and sampled himself later. Like you see the groundwork being laid here. So that's why I'm like, it is so imaginative because these are the building blocks that he used for his later work.
So there's a lot of hands involved in pulling this album together, but this is maybe one of the last times that we see Kanye producing most of his own project, right? There's not a lot of Ghost producing. It's
I know. I thought I still.
You mean like co-producers?
Yeah,
like,
I still think all the way up until graduation, he was still doing most of it himself.
Yeah.
I mean, he brings on John Bryan in the next one,
right?
And that's really big. Don't get me wrong, but he's still sitting there chopping that shit himself. John wasn't chopping them soul samples,
right? And so
no, he was. Yeah,
John playing them keys.
88 Keys says that he gave him the skeleton for the drums on Jesus Walks.
Oh yeah.
He
definitely.
said that he's the only one that sampled Curtis Mayfield's "If There's a Hell Below, We're All Gonna Go" the way he did because he chose to chop it. 88 Keys said that all the other producers who took that sample, because we've heard that sample a lot of times, that's the classic song, "Whiteys, niggas," right?
Yeah.
And he chopped it and made his own thing. And then there's about 3 things that Kanye abuses on this album sonically.
Okay, I want to hear this.
Besides the Miri Ben Ali violins, what became his signatures, which is why he like moved away from it probably after graduation. His version of the auto-tune vocoder effect, the windy modulation, he does that on a lot of songs. He does it on the beats. So on the beats like Jesus Walks, you're gonna hear it on the little interlude. There's that. It's in a couple of joints, especially, and we'll talk about Workout Plan in a minute. And then the third thing were his signature drums, where he used to really love doing that build up, boom, 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 and the congas. A lot of his conga and built up 808 drums. But each song, I would say, has its own identity.
Yeah.
And so from a production standpoint, I think you guys mentioned, it's new to hip hop too. A lot of these kinds of beats are new. This is right before, and this is probably the last year before the sped up soul sample that he ushered in style got played out. Because remember, everyone was doing it after Blueprint.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. And Blueprint's 2001, and so this is 2004. So yeah, it's about done after this.
Yeah. I mean, Dipset would continue it for like 2 more years.
Dipset, yeah.
They ran it into the ground. But this was on his last leg.
I was gonna say, because I definitely still kept hearing it, but it was Dipset.
Yeah.
You're right.
Because Dipset's all the way till like 2007, 2008.
Because we saw folk who had no business rapping over soul samples coming out rapping over. I was like, what? Hold on.
But then and just to make this point, that's something that people don't always forget. But it's also like what he did with the soul samples was just updated RZA. It's like the drums were different than RZA, but the sped up soul samples and the 45, putting a soul sample on 45 is RZA, and he'll admit that. And then there's also the Dilla effect that Dilla's doing a lot of stuff that Kanye is like being influenced by at this time, that everyone's being influenced by at this time. But it's still definitely something different. It's like he's not RZA, because RZA did a lot of soul samples, but he ain't never did it where it was like bouncing around like this shit was.
And No ID is a big.
No ID is, I mean, that's another one who does never and never will probably get the credit that he deserves, and it's just outrageous. What because I feel like No ID. I was listening to something he did for Common way back the other day, and it's like I feel like he's doing the offbeat shit even before Dilla's doing it, and I don't feel like he's getting the credit that Dilla got for that. So
yeah, I think a big part of that was the payback of bringing him into the fold, and he winds up producing 444. He connected everything.
Oh yeah,
Kanye is good for bringing people into the fold. What they do with that from there, whatever. But okay, y'all made great points about the production. Uh, some of the samples on here, we're getting a range of obscure to popular stuff. So he's sampling something as big as Shaka Khan and something as random as what he used for what's the so he used a mandrill sample for 2 words and Jimmy Castor sample for the first song. What's the name of the first song? Drug Dealing? Nah, it used to be called Drug Dealing on the advanced version.
Yeah.
We don't care.
We don't care, right?
All right, now see that's the other thing. You've heard the advanced version, like the one that had Drunken Hot Girls and all that type of stuff. Yeah, Drunken Hot Girls was
I didn't know it was that
forever.
Old. Drunken Hot Girls was that old? I did not know.
Yeah, that and Drive Slow is that old. Drive Slow was on a version that I heard back then without Paul Wall on it.
Hey Mama
was on there. Yeah, Hey Mama's that old.
Homecoming is
that old. Yep.
Yeah, Benhameen used to run pleasedon'tstare.com. Still kind of does, I guess. But
yeah, I mean, yeah. And so
I would get that stuff from his
And then even before that, I mean, this is just like it's just how it was back then. Like
there's probably so much music history in that head.
and I don't know shit. That's something I hate about hip hop is, and like I'm glad that you're doing what you're doing because it's not enough black people doing it, and it's not enough people like me or people like Guru who know even more and have been in so many places who are cataloging all this shit. Yeah. And we're losing people every day, and that's like
losing recipes.
Yeah, and it's sad because it's like, yeah.
Man, that's a great point that you made. I just learned that School Spirit, the reason why it's edited, because I think around this late 90s, I just done the Roots review, and there's a couple tracks on there where the curses are reversed or whatever. You've seen a few albums like that where you're like, why is this song edited, but the rest of them they're saying 3 times? But it's because Aretha wouldn't clear the sample unless there was a censored version. So they tried to do it on another beat, but they're like, nah, this is the only beat where it works and it gets that feeling. And I remember that song, School Spirit, being used in the promo. The commercials would come on, we were in Howard, and they would have like the person stepping. I think it was a Kappa. And I'm like, that's genius promo. No one's ever the Divine Nine angle to, But anyway, so I just learned that. Let's talk about workout plan.
You picked the one that he was just like, fuck.
I feel you, Ben. I know where you're coming from, because this is a song I overlooked for years until we used to do events called Plates and Crates where we would do a live cover band performance of a whole classic album from beginning.
Oh, that's dope.
And when we did the Plates and Crates night, I shout out to my whole team. I remember I felt like the old man on the block because one, I didn't know that workout plan is where J. Cole got his whole beat and song from. But because I never played the song all the way through after like the first listen to the album, I was like, I'm not listening to this.
But that breakdown is where it gets funky.
Yeah. Shout out to Chelsea, shout out to Crystal, shout out to Lorraine, shout out to Divine and Rob. They all knew, they was quoting it. They were like, I rode the plane. I never listened to pay that much attention. But from an objective standpoint, let's look at the fact that this is a beat that has 3 movements. It starts with the violin intro, which was Miri Benari. She said it was for her album. It was supposed to be her first single.
Could have kept that.
So, right. So Kanye kept
for real, because it's not when it gets to it's when it gets to it. All right, we keep going,
Right, so he keeps that for the intro, and that, you're wondering what the hell, because it's just coming off of a bunch of soul samples, Jesus Walks, and cool, things that are easy to follow, and this is all over the place. It's like a cacophony, right?
It's random as fuck.
Right, and you're like, this is noisy, where's this going? And then it breaks down with, again, the signature sped up Kanye drums, and then the beat comes in, and it's just like, it's its own identity in the mid beat that he's rapping over. Then he takes it, and now I'm able to appreciate this. To a Chicago juking kind of space. And I'm like, this is like old school music where they used to have movements, part 1 and 2. And so it's like 3 different beats in one. And if you stay long enough to hear the juking, he even leads you through it, right? Let's do a clap. Now let's do a double time soul clap. And then we get the vocoder and we get I think that's GLC doing the right? So it becomes a jam.
And then like, as this is someone like, I was at the time, like I said, at that time when this dropped, I was in clubs heavy. Like, I mean, every weekend, 3-4 nights a week, killing shit. So we would just cut straight from there. We'd always play workout plans straight from the third part, because that's where it got funky, and then you would go into some classic house and keep it moving. Because that other shit was just like, nah, bro, this ain't it.
Yeah.
But that last part, yeah, that's where I'm like, okay, this is what I'm here for.
It's genius. And now that I'm old enough to appreciate it, and I've listened to it, and I've had to perform it, and seen the reaction from the crowd, and seen how much my band was into it, they're like, no, you got to play this all the way through. I was like, oh, we can do like 1 minute of this. They're like, nah, play it all.
You got to do that shit. Yeah, I get it. I got one more question.
Go for it.
Even out of notes. What was the sample on Spaceships? Because that is mine. That shit is the one.
That's Marvin Gaye. That's the original version of Distant Lover.
Oh, that shit is so incredible.
Yeah. Fun fact, I grew up only knowing the live version of Distant Lover. So when I heard the original, I wasn't as impressed, but I knew it right away when they were rapping over it. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, I don't think they get enough props for rapping in the style that they rap, but we'll talk about that. And I'll note that you are not alone. I'm not alone, apparently. Everyone in this camp did not like Workout Plan. Plain Pat, Ferris Bueller, GLC, they hated it until, like you said, they saw the performance effect of it.
Oh, yeah.
The performance helps, but it's like, even listening to it again, I felt differently than what I felt when I first heard it. I don't know. When I first heard it, I got it right away. I was into it. I thought it was fun. And like I said, at that age, I don't know. I just thought, I was like, this is crazy. This is fire. Like, it's some other shit I never heard before. And now listening, I'm just like,
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting too, because I get it. Because and he was probably doing it for people, he was like, no, I might make a party song.
Yeah.
It just doesn't, I'm telling you, we just used to skip to that third part. That's just all we used to do. I never would play any of the rest.
That beginning part, yeah. And I also wonder if it's just like, is that just informed by what I know of his work now? And is that bringing my bias? Is that changing my approach to it now versus like never hearing the nigga before and then hearing this, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
like before I said, oh, this shit is crazy. I love it. And now I'm like,
it's hard to ignore the fact it is a cartoony beat, right? To begin with. So it doesn't have a shelf life like the others. Like when I was just reviewing the Eminem album and talking about how a lot of his beats on his first album were cartoony, so they don't last the test of time. So I think that has an effect as well. And it's the other parts that save it. But now, from a refined music taste, it's like, oh, when you're realizing what he's doing, he's bringing juke music into hip hop. And paying homage to a city. It reminds me like when Wale came out and was blending go-go into hip-hop, and if you're not from DC, you're not picking up on that. So,
right.
Cool.
Right.
Girls, boy, if you was from DC. Woo.
Right. I'm going back to Ben. I know you remember tracks like that. What's the one
Nike
thing about
Air
a player?
And what's his he had a song about Nike boots. Nike boots. Yeah.
He was trying to make that his lane until he realized it wasn't popping like he wanted. He's like, let me get Lady Gaga on the single. But anyway,
it didn't work. He tried it.
What y'all giving the production on a scale from 1 to 5 heartbeats? 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest.
Not 5 heartbeats.
5 being the highest on the whole album, or just Workout Plan?
Just the beats.
The beats.
But the whole album.
For the whole album, the beats. Okay. 5 being the highest.
4.5 or 4. I'll say 4. I don't want to go that
high.
high.
I was gonna go 4 because I hear what you're saying, Malik, about the genius, the actual inherent genius of Workout Plan. But again, I gotta ding it a little bit. So maybe 4.5.
Okay. So you should go 5?
No, I wasn't going 5. I was going for it, and I was just like,
so maybe 3.
There is a genius to Workout Plan, and there's also an annoyance to it. So
okay.
I was going to give it that half credit. I don't know, man. It's either 4 or 4.5. 4.25.
Don't just base it off of that, because you also have Breathe In and Breathe Out to consider, which is not a very inspired beat.
It's not, but you know what? I guess because I'm also I just like it better.
Yeah, hard.
I just like it. It goes hard. Yeah, it goes hard. Let's say 4. I think I feel comfortable saying 4.
All right. So Dimension 2, the cohesiveness of the album. How well does the album flow together from beginning to end? This is probably where sequencing comes into play. So shout out to the executive directors of this album. I think, who is that? Hip Hop, and John Monopoly, and Kanye himself, of course, because he's not letting anything hit the presses without his final approval. But if we look at it, how many tracks on this album, Tati?
You saw me looking. 21.
21 tracks. How many of them are actual songs?
Not as many.
Not as many. Like maybe 15.
Wait.
Tati was right, about 15 songs.
Like 15. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So in the oral history of this album, again, his whole team was like, we don't agree with all these skits. We tried to tell Kanye, stop with all these skits back to back. Because there's one point after School Spirit where there's literally 3 D-Ray takes in a row.
Now, I really, especially listening to D-Ray do the fake Bernie Mac, I did not like his impersonation. That shit was mid as fuck.
Even in
I did
2004?
not like it. I don't know. And I don't remember. I told you, I never heard it. I never remembered. When I was listening to it now, I'm like, what the fuck is this? This shit is weak.
I like the Wake Up Mr. West. That was about all I needed from that.
Wake
Up Mr. West. That's
I mean, and then like when I was listening to skits, like the funny stuff, like when they talking about, like my father, all he did leaving behind all these degrees, and I might be dead, but I got these degrees. Like that shit is funny, and it also it aligns with, as we kept talking about, the cohesion. Like I do think the sequencing makes sense. I still think that it tells that story of his story, the literal about being a college dropout, and also like kind of all the figurative and the figurehead of what all these songs really stand for. So I mean, I think it got it in terms of cohesion. It's 100%.
Yeah, I mean, if not for those skits, it's the catch-22. It's like they kind of overdid it with 3 of them back to back.
Yeah.
But if not for those skits, the theme would have not be there. Would have not.
That's the word, theme.
And I think he does a good job tempo-wise of slow song, mid-tempo song, up-tempo. Like workout plan is a necessary evil, right? You need that to bring the party back up, because like we said prior to that, it was like I'll Never Let You Down and Jesus Walks, which are kind of heavy songs, right? So like workout plan lightens it and speeds things up. And another thing that I think is very present on this album is the balance of Kanye's songs by himself compared to the songs with Kanye with other people. Like some albums you get are very front loaded with all the guests, and then you're like, oh, I don't have interest in the main artist anymore. So it's nicely sprinkled in here and there. Right?
Yeah. It's not too feature heavy, which is great, and that to your point, lets you acquaint yourself with the main artist, right? Let the main thing be the main thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So. I love that. I love that quote. That's a bar. That's a bar, Tati.
I know.
Yeah. The sequencing is incredible. Pretty much the way every song drops into the next one. I'm big on that, and that's like something that people don't do as much anymore. And he really did it super well on this album.
Annoying. I'm really glad you said that, Ben, because I've had this aggravation for a long time, for a few years, about the fact that I feel like no one cares about sequencing anymore.
It's weird.
It's a vulnerable space. So I'm allowing my emotions to kind of start matching up with what I'm listening to. And then if you got me schizophrenic, I'm like, whoa, like, what are we, unless that's what the album's about, like, what are we doing? Like, could you at least try to like adjust it a little bit? Or this just made sense to me.
No, I wanted to say that one other thing about the sequencing on this is like, it's interesting that All Falls Down comes so early in the album.
Yes, I will say that.
Because it's like, you talk about bringing a nigga down. Like, that shit is like, and it's interesting, but it works, I think. But then, like, when I listened to it this time, because I've heard it all so many times, I was like, okay, I'll fly away, fast forward, right away. Like, I'm good, The skits, pretty much, I'll fast forward. So,
yeah, I mean, the skits are very long, too. That's another thing.
Skits are long.
Yeah. The second School Spirit skit where he's talking about then you get your master's match.
Yeah. It's funny, but it is long.
That shit is funny as hell, though. That was funny as hell back then.
What y'all giving this for cohesiveness on a scale from 1 to 5 heartbeats?
Ooh. 3.5.
3.5.
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt really good about it. I was also checking out the BPMs and how they jump and all that stuff. I don't know. I felt, and that's I'm actually interested that you said that, Ben. That All Fall Down comes so early.
It does, man. And that I've forgotten it. I'm like, damn, this is dark early.
4, because I still feel this was cohesive album so far.
No, it's super cohesive. So yeah, I probably have to upgrade to 4 because 3.5 feels like I'm like, you know.
To me, 3.5 means mid.
Yeah,
like you're doing the best you can with what you got.
And it ain't the best you can though. The album was great. Like, yeah.
I like that y'all make each other think. That's awesome.
Yeah, oh definitely.
That's why our show is so successful.
And y'all do a lot of foreshadowing. So far y'all foreshadowed Dimension 1 going to 2, and now y'all foreshadowed Dimension 2 going to 3. Dimension 3 is the overall mood and tone of the album. So this is where we talk about the theme. It's not the mood that you're in when you listen to it, because that can change depending on the day, right? But it's what mood and tone do you think the artist was trying to set, and how good of a job did they do it on this album, right? And we've established the theme. There's a couple currents, right? The theme is this idea of college dropout, right?
Right, like on the surface, like
right,
college dropout, right?
The other undercurrent is I am
depressed.
I'm here and I'm showing all the people who doubted me.
That.
And the other theme is, like Tatiana said, depression and what he said, insecurity.
Depression and insecurity and self-deprecation.
Yeah, which comes from being suppressed and insecure. I do a lot of self-deprecation when I'm bullshitting, and it's not a good thing. Yeah.
Self-reflection, and I mean, like, even in
introspective.
Thank you. That's very introspective. Like, you know, even like it's a joke, but it's just like dead ass. It's like, all right, you got your degrees, so fucking what?
Mm-hmm.
What you gonna do with that? You know, when they say you got all this money, but you can't take it with you when you die, you know, it's kind of like, what's more important, right? Like, you know, and you could tell it's that battle of, is it more important to get my education, more important to go for shit that matters, quote unquote? Not to say that education's not important. I did go to Howard, I got my degree, but what makes the person, right?
Y'all
like it's deep-seated.
You got all that from me? Because I really felt like he was saying, nah, I don't need this F y'all way. I'm making my way.
I think he was.
Even important.
I think he was, but I also think that he was like working through them emotions. Cause that's like a hard, especially like his mother. First of all, his mother was an educator. Rest in peace, Miss Donda. But his mother was an educator, and that had been his life, 100%. Like, so that's like paramount in your life. So then for you to be like, fuck that, I ain't doing that. But you also have a mom, and his mom was encouraging him. But also have a mom where like that's her, like that's how she raised him. You understand? So I thought it was also him like kind of battling that, like knowing that it was important, but also like, fuck that, I'm gonna do this anyway.
Yo, I'm about to make the Weebay face. Because y'all got me thinking, y'all got real metaphysical here. Y'all are saying this is a subversive struggle.
I think it's and I feel that way again, maybe now because I'm informed of who Kanye is now. He has that in so most, if not all of his albums, that he has these internal struggles that he's going through.
Yeah, I thought that was like,
that's how I feel.
And that's why I told Guru he was going to be as big as he was. And that's why I love, like, I was a Kanye addict from early because he was me. That's how I felt. You know, he was like this dude who was a nerd, but wanted to dress cool, you know, and loved hip hop, but wasn't out, you know, shooting and dealing drugs and all this stuff. And so it was like, I'd never heard anybody, you know, well, there were other people. There was De La Soul. De La Soul were nerds like that.
But he was Louis Vuitton Don.
Like when I was listening to this joint, man, it almost had me in tears.
Wow.
Which one?
This album. Like today.
College Dropout.
Like one, it brought me back to that time. Because when this album came out, I was out of Howard, but I was struggling, you know, I was still trying to find my way in the world, you know, it's like I'm DJing, I'm making money, but I ain't making what I want to be making. So, you know, that slave ship, I used to play that shit driving into, you know, work every day, you know, like, cause that's how I felt still. It was like, you know, goddamn, I got to deal with this asshole at the job, you know, all this stuff. And so listen to it now, I'm like, damn. And it was like, you know, that shit still, like, that's why I mean, Spaceships is one of my favorite joints of all time. Like, that shit is, you know, that's gospel music to me.
There's an empowering element to what, and he's not shy about it, right? It's very obvious that he's like, even though he's using his narrative as the focal point, it spoke to, and I'm getting too far ahead of myself, but I do think that is probably the biggest tone set on this album. Is like, you can do it your way. You don't have to do it the way that's set out.
Yes.
Using college as the metaphor, right? College is what we're all told we're supposed to do. And then he's like, look. And then he tells you what he went through, you know, lock yourself in a room for 3 summers. That's a different world, like 3 summers.
Come on, man.
So it's like
that shit is.
there's justified. I love what you guys are saying about the insecurity, self-deprecation, because it's wrapped in this shell of arrogance.
Yeah.
I
And
think the
that's
reason-
Kanye.
Yeah.
The reason why people love it, because most arrogant artists put us off, but it's justified arrogance as opposed to some of his later albums, which is why we see more of a split fan base for him now, because people are like, I don't know, you said you was God on the last album, right? But on
Jesus.
Yeezus, right? That drove some people away. 808s and Heartbreaks drove some people away, but this united fans because people were like, oh, I get it. He paid his dues. He got it out the mud. Before we were using that phrase, we were able to see. So what do you guys give this for how good of a job he did with setting the mood and tone on a scale?
5.
5.
Yeah, that's a 5.
5.
Dimension 4, song distinction versus the repetition of words and sounds. So it's basically how redundant is the album on a sonic level and then lyrically, right? So sometimes when you have one producer, you're prone to hear some things repeat. We mentioned how he uses a lot of the same elements, but is there a redundancy factor on the production?
I mean, I guess so. This is what's difficult when I hear like the word redundancy and we're talking about production, because every producer has a sound.
Yeah.
The only redundancies I see are the skits. Because there's potentially too many of them, and just the frequency thereof. Like,
I think because of his sampling, especially back then, he wasn't as redundant. Like now,
he wasn't
I
as
feel like
redundant.
his album sounds so goddamn.
Yeah, I think the records. I think the records on the album sound different enough. Like, but some of them, as we talked about, Night and Day. Like,
where he's pulling the samples from vary so the sounds and I think he was very intentional about that, right? There's not another Get 'Em High on there.
No.
There's not another School Spirit. There's not another real, like Through the Wire, you could compare to School Spirits because it's two high-pitched female singing voices, but
that's it. The message is different.
And the way that chop, because Through the Wire's chop is fucking crack.
Exactly. Okay, so then that takes us to words. Does Kanye get repetitive with what he's saying? And does he use the same thing? Sometimes we get intentional repetition. So sometimes rappers repeat themselves because they're trying to brand something, right? They're shouting at their city, their crew, their squad, their label. Right. And then sometimes rappers just say the same shit because they get lazy. Okay, so lyrically or word-wise, are we hearing Kanye get repetitive or redundant at all?
Not yet. That comes later.
That comes later, doctor.
Doctor.
We're quoting Bane. We quoting Bane from Batman. As you say that, I'm actually on my phone and I'm like going, like I have the lyrics on, so I'm like cycling through just to see what the fuck he was saying. I don't think he was repeating anything. Like
I don't think so.
I mean, lyrically, I think he's giving different
themes, maybe.
Content. The theme, but that's just staying on theme.
He only has one Jesus Waltz. He only has one All Falls Down. It ain't like he's sitting there, every song, things are gonna go bad for you again, So no.
At most, you'll hear him reference his accident on like 4 different songs. But
that nigga's face hurt.
Well, he almost died. So pretty traumatic.
Nigga sitting there writing and his face is in pain. Like, you gonna reference
so that I get. You might want to talk about it a little bit more.
Right. Y'all are hilarious. So on this dimension, the song distinction, what are y'all giving it on the scale from 1 to 5?
Nigga said he felt like Mace felt, nigga. That nigga said he was about to leave the game. That nigga's face hurt.
Lyric distinction 1 to 5.
No, just song distinction in general, words and
song distinction.
Okay, yeah. Oh, that's a 5.
5.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So not a lot of redundancy, not any redundancy at all, according to y'all.
Well, no, I said
the
skits.
4.5.
But...
Well, we'll see if you add.
You want me to dock him a 0.5 for that? I'll do it. Yeah. But the skits are also regardless of the length and all that, the negatives about it, they still contribute to the album. So I'm gonna go back to a 5.
4.5, 5. Yeah.
Okay, so we stick to 5s. All right. Dimension 5, y'all foreshadowed this too. The amount of content versus the amount of songs. And so this is a ratio question. All good classic albums have a sense of balance. And this goes to a point that Benhameen had made 2 dimensions ago, where you saw about the art of sequencing is dead. In the drill and trap era of rap, we've experienced tons of albums that are like 20-track albums. Bang Bang Murder Murder, the last song is, you got the choir, you're like, why my cousin have to die?
Nigga, what do you call it? Asteroid, which I think is a classic, a straight up and down classic album. Sequence, that's another one that's recent. That's why I didn't mention that, because it's like 6 years now, but that was pretty recent. I think Asteroid's perfect sequence, and it's all trap, and then it has this super hip hop ass song as the last song, where he's talking about his relationship with Shorty and how he gets treated bad because he's dark skinned, and all this.
You said Astro World?
Yeah, all this introspective shit from Travis that you never hear, and it's like, where, what? Stuff, bro.
He felt the way at the end.
After killing everybody and doing all the drugs.
You start thinking about your life.
So balance is important, right? If we're talking about 15 songs on this album, how much content, how much substantial material is Kanye giving you?
Minus the skits.
I think, and I think because he was giving you real, like I say, Spaceships is one of them songs you can listen to forever. Jesus Waltz is forever. Like, these are, like, so because of that, I got
Slow Jams is forever.
Yeah, Slow Jams. Look, that was a moment.
We're talking about hitting different topics, right? Regardless of what it is, if it's topical. Even School Spirit, he's staying on that's the only song on the album where he's really talking about college.
Family Business is, man.
Right.
Family Business, like, that just sends chills on my spine, listening to it, like.
And so from a ratio standpoint, what can we say? Is that half the album is topical?
I would say more than half.
More than half, maybe at least.
Get 'Em High.
It's just bars.
And Breathe In, Breathe Out is just rap, right?
Yeah.
So
it's dope ass rap though.
All the other songs, and maybe 2 words is like borderline, right? That's like brag rap and some subject matter in there. But School Spirit's about something. Slow Jams is about something. Even Workout Plan is about something. And then you got heavier songs like Jesus Walks, Never Let Me
Through
Down,
the Wire,
Spaceship, right? So what is that? Is that 60, 75%?
Yeah, I would say at least
75, 80.
Yeah, because I just think his stuff, like I say, the themes that are impactful are so impactful that they're, they overweigh the stuff where he's just rapping.
And like, if you're doing like a weighted average, like to Ben's point, like those songs will hold the line for everything else. For anything that's even potentially questionable, he has a record that will lift up everybody. It's the tide that lifts everything. So
and then the other thing is, like, even on songs where he's just rapping, he's still like, it's proving a point, because at that time there wasn't Kanye, so there wasn't a dude looking and talking this, rapping alongside Jay. So that substance, and that's that's topical in its way. So I don't even feel like even his just rapping was just rapping.
Or what did he say on Late Registration? Even my superficial raps is super official.
Yeah, and that's how he was back then.
Yeah. So it's interesting because it's so rare. He did what he didn't have to do. Like, not all content is created equally, right? Some albums, some would argue that just having Jesus Walks, you don't need another song. The whole rest of the album could have been.
That's everybody today. Like you said, they would have shot you for the whole
literally
album.
What people do now.
Jesus Walks at the
right.
end.
But he takes it. He gives you All Falls Down, and like you said, from the break, second song in, even We Don't Care. That's a message song. It's not. It's social commentary. So this may be one of the highest content albums in rap history. Like, people always think of like Public Enemy when they think of content, but it's like, it doesn't always have to be this super deep political stuff. It's just, how well do you rap about different things? What are y'all giving this on a scale from 1 to 5 on the content?
I say 5. Yeah, I had to say 5. Yeah. Spaceships alone would give me, I'd be giving this a 5. So
gotcha.
I think I agree. I think it's a 5.
All right, that takes us to the dimension we've been waiting for. Dimension 6, the features.
Oh, that's perfect. And I was about to bring this up. Yo, how did he feel when Jay spit that verse? He's like, fuck!
He said fuck.
I really wanted this nigga on my album, but fuck?
You know he said that.
Nigga said, I seen a repo your vehicle. Like, Jesus Christ,
like you know
had
his
to sit on me like that.
Remember I told you, and you agreed, Ben, how he it's always like this internal struggle with himself on his own albums, right? And also like his internal struggle with his brother / nemesis, Jay. Like, I firmly feel like you, and even if you like watch the documentary and all this stuff, the way that he had to beg, even on that album, Jay was like, "You got me in this shit, doing this shit." Like, you know, like he's saying it in a kind of loving, funny way, but it's also like, "Damn, nigga, can you just do this and love me?" Right? I know the way that Kanye be reacting when he gets mad at Jay, when Jay says something he don't like, or Jay don't approve of something, or don't do what he wants. Like, it's that brotherly love, right? Like, I absolutely need you in my life, but fuck you, right? So I know that he was just like, fuck, why Jay do that? But also like, damn, Jay did that. You know what I'm saying? Like, this shit goes hard.
So who he got on this album, first and foremost?
He got, hold on.
Most Def.
Most Def. Selena, I'm gonna go down the line. Selena Johnson, GLC Consequence, Jay, Talib, Most Def, Ludacris. I don't know how I didn't realize that. Jamie Foxx, Twista, Freeway. I didn't even realize.
Oh yeah.
The Boys Choir of Harlem.
Killing it.
And I'm sure there's others that I'm just like really quick going through.
Right. We got Aisha Tyler on some of the
D-Ray Davis.
We got D-Ray. We got John Legend doing background vocals.
John Legend, yeah.
Before the world knew him like that. And a couple other folk. I think his cousin, Tony Williams, is singing some backgrounds. And that's why we get the I'll Fly Away skit and stuff like that. Miri Ben Ari, if we want to count her.
Yeah.
We got to count her. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got guests galore. And the reason why this is a dimension is because features could either help an album or bring it down, right? So how do we feel the features, what do they do to this album? Do they help it? Do they hurt it?
Help. I mean, it's like, listen to Most Def on this. I was like, God damn, that nigga can rap. Like, Most is one of them dudes.
I mean, it helps. I mean, obviously the strength for me, and when I say obviously, clearly I'm talking from my perspective, I feel the strength of Kanye at the time was there, right? But this is also debut, right? And not to say that you can't stand off the strength of your own without no features. Okay, J. Cole heard. I just saying that, like, he's still strong even without these other folks on here. But yes, it does contribute tremendously. It contributes to his musical cred, his street cred. It contributes, and again, everyone on the album provides different things, right? It contributes to his musical genius credit as well. Like, for him to be able to synthesize those voices or their talent and into his music and into even his own lyrics and production. Like, they absolutely help. Yeah.
As objective as I try to be on the show, this is where my hot take will jump in a little bit. I would go as far as say this is one of the rare instances where he helped the features more than they helped him, because, and I'll break this down.
Okay.
Each feature was strategically placed. By now, most of us have seen the documentary where it shows him going around to everybody's studio session, playing the album, telling them why he needed them on the album. Scarface was supposed to be on there and just couldn't make it. But let's take it with the exception of Ludacris. So he was bringing GLC and Consequence into the game. Consequence had all been a footnote in hip hop at that point, and Consequence will tell you himself. And so this is the put on by having him on that. Twista, this is a resurgence of Twista. Twista had never been a top 40 darling. So this is the same year or the year after Twista's comeback with Overnight Celebrity.
No, this is the same year. Overnight Celebrity comes out after.
Right.
After this.
He gets
a new deal because of Slow Jams.
Right. He's bringing Twista in off the buzz of the talk of Twista being given a Rockefeller chain. I remember those being the rumors at the time, right? So he's capitalizing off of that, and he's bringing Twista into comeback territory. Same thing is happening with Common, because Common had been in that space in his career where he split his audience with that Electric Circus. So he's like, come with me. This is the precursor to Common coming over to good music when good music was formed. So he's bringing Common back to unquestionable hip hop relevance. He's bringing Twista into this spotlight that he's never had before outside of Chicago. Jay-Z just retired. Black Album had just come out the year before. It was a big deal. This is one of his first verses since then. He was on a Young Guns album the same month, and he does the same thing that he does on this album. 2 verses. The comeback verse. This is like, what? You gonna rap 2 times? Because you know you're not getting the Jay album this year. So it's a big deal. So he's giving the people what they want, more Jay. So he's helping out the Jay legacy. Even though Jay needs no help, but I'm just saying this is the purpose that feature served. Who else? Sylena Johnson. He's making her name more relevant because before she was only collabing with R. Kelly.
And you know, that was only because Lauren wouldn't clear it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So she had to re-sing it.
Talib always needs as much help as he can get.
Now, Talib probably got way too many syllables in his mouth, is always my take
always.
on Talib.
So, Talib, the story, he says his feature, he emailed it while he was on the road because he was, apparently he thought he wasn't going to be asked to be on the album. He's like, damn, Kanye's got an album? I wish I could be on it. And he said Kanye happened to call him a little after that. And he like phoned in a verse, literally. And Kanye wound up putting it on the wrong part of the beat or a different part than when he recorded it. So I don't know if that's his excuse for why he sounds not as on beat as he could be. Me personally, I just think it's because he couldn't do it.
I think you're just off beat.
He's just off beat.
He usually is a little bit off beat. But I
bro.
like Talib on this one when he did that. I can't believe he's using my name and all that shit. That shit, he comes in on that joint, you know, kicking like.
Oh, you like that? Okay.
Yeah, I actually like that shit. I'm not a Talib fan like that. You know, he's a rare, you know, like I like some of his joints, but overall I'm not like going to play Talib. But that's like that verse I like. When the way he comes in on that verse, I like that shit. That shit's hard. Yeah.
Okay, and then to wrap up my point about helping people, he brings Freeway and Most together. Now Most is another person in a similar position to Common because his album right before this split his audience. Whoever was waiting for Black on Both Sides too, that were kind of like,
you ain't get it.
Right. So now this is Most coming in rare form, even though this is an old verse, right? And it's new to the people who got this album.
Yeah.
And Freeway, and I remember there was an MTV special on MTV News, Who Got Next or whatever, and they were showing him recording this, and he was talking about how big of a deal it is that he's bringing those 2 worlds together. He's bringing Freeway.
Yeah, definitely.
He's like, I'm the first one to put them on the track together. Ain't nobody doing that.
I mean, he's right though.
All right, Jay Ivy. This is another person that was locally known in Chicago, but he's now a Grammy winner. Kanye gave him his first big platform. You could say the same thing about D-Ray Davis. He was making the rounds, but he wasn't a name. He's all over this album. Aisha Tyler.
John Legend, who you mentioned before.
John Legend,
yeah.
So he's giving all these folks platform, and most notably, Jamie Foxx. People forget Jamie Foxx
started it.
He was in between his career. This was not Ray Jamie Foxx yet. That was 1 year away. Yep. And his team was saying they thought it was a joke when Jamie Foxx was on the song. We hadn't heard Jamie Foxx sing
not like this
since 1994, and the people who do remember thought it was a joke back then too.
Yep.
His verse sounds like he was freestyling, right? It's he just sounds like he was in there, and they were like, just name a bunch of R&B names.
Yeah, right.
He said it like that. He said that he went in there, which is like, and then he said, and that's when you first hear about how Kanye is such a talent, because he said he went in there and was trying to, let's get some Marvin Gaye, you know, and Kanye was like, nah, nigga, chill all that shit out, you know, just. A little need, just all we need. And he was like, what? And then, you know, he was mad at Kanye because he was like, nah, I want to sing, you know. And then he was like, nah, bro, this is what we need on this. And then, you know, he turned it into that, and then gave Jamie a whole career in the story.
Yeah, so I mean, I would love to see in the comments what y'all think of that theory, the fact that Kanye's placement of these features helped the guests, with the exception of Luda, because they said they actually had to give Luda hella free beats just to get him to do the hook.
I love it. See, I was always a big Ludacris fan, so if that's the way the shit
asshole, dog. I can tell you other stories.
I'm sure he is, but the nigga's talented, so
and he's a Virgo. He about his, you know, it's like
he's about his paper. He's an earth sign like me. I get it.
he dots them, dot the T's and the I's where I ain't there. That is Luda.
Period.
You earth benders are different.
I can't be mad at him about it.
I'm trying to do the
also, I just seen that nigga be a bit of an asshole, but hey, whatever. He's also a superstar and one of the best.
I get it. You can be that way when you good, when you got the talent.
You can.
Yeah.
So,
You know what I'm saying? Like you could back it up, whatever.
It's significant because he's the one that probably needed the least platform, and that's why he gives us the least feature.
The least.
Yeah.
He got the least out of everybody.
But then it's like it looks bad on him in retrospect because when you listen to that shit, you're like, come on, Luda.
This shit was weak.
Yeah, this shit weak as fuck, dude. This is all you got.
I'm saying this is the Luda fan.
Forward.
The shit was weak.
And it's like fast forward this track. Nobody want to hear that shit.
Y'all foreshadow it again. All right. So on a scale from 1 to 5, as far as if they help, it's a 5. If they hurt, it's anything below 5.
5, I guess. I can't think of
I guess 5. Like I said, it's like they help, but he also technically doesn't need it either. But
so that would
they still help. Like they don't harm.
I think he needs it because like you say, I get how you're saying it helped Jay because Jay was retired, but that's Jay. Like having Jay on your album
Jay don't need
was
no
like, especially then, like you said, this is off the Black album, so it's like. I got Jay on my album, nigga. You better come listen to this. This is, that's a way bigger help.
That's what I said earlier about getting like music cred and street cred. It's just like you can't get this.
It gave him more cred like that he would have never had,
But you would say that just about Jay. Would you say that about anybody else on the album? Any other feature? Was there anybody else where it's just like, yo, like I said Kanye, yay, whatever his nigga's name now. You'd be like, yo. I can't believe that nigga. Like, you could say that about Jay. I can't believe that nigga Kanye got Jay on this shit. Fine. What about everybody else? It's kind of like, wow, okay, cool.
No. So they were all help. Yeah.
Y'all didn't feel like that was a given with being on Rockefeller? Like,
fuck no, not knowing Jay-Z and knowing him and knowing him. But he could have done that for anyone. Yeah. That's it. Jay could have been like, let me go to Britney Spears and rap on her shit.
Yeah. And he also could have did the opposite, which was do the bare minimum.
Yes, like he did to Cameron. Right. He could have. But no, he came on
Jay,
there and destroyed it. Like, ate that shit alive.
I would also rate it a 5. I think Ben rates a 5.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. That takes us to something y'all foreshadowed. Dimension 7. The question of, do the weakest songs or does the weakest song bring the album down in any way?
Ain't Eminem's first album, I'll say that.
We know a good classic album could be racked and tanked or
by one or two bad songs. I think anything that like
you gotta give me an example of that.
I think any record on here that was even questionable, that we said was questionable, at least now, it's like it's inconsequential to the rest of the record, to the rest of the album. It really is. Like, okay, you tripped a little bit, but you didn't fall.
No. Breathe in, breathe out. It's like whatever. And I think I've heard that without Luda. I can't remember, but I don't know. But that's whatever. But I like that beat, kind of.
And y'all missed your workout plan.
That's a kind of no.
Yeah, it's a kind of no.
It's a kind of no.
And like, if I'm listening to the album again, I'm fast forwarding through that shit. No lie.
Yeah, his team will tell you that. I think unanimously they all tell you that Kanye regrets Breathe In, Breathe Out on this album because it was one of those earlier songs off his mixtapes, but they said because it's the song that got Lyor Cohen to open up the budget, that's why it made it. And plus, like I said, Ludacris was the biggest rapper.
That's what it is,
and
that's what it was,
in that era. So they're like, we need this. But looking back, he's like, I don't like that song.
Yeah.
And it did nothing.
Yeah, there you go. See, so
and I can't even lie, the workout plan, though, I forgot it had that third part. Because this time I fast forwarded through it.
See, that's 2 songs. Y'all gonna tell me 2 songs don't bring the album down slightly?
I fast forwarded through every step. No,
but I don't know. Are you saying bring it down slightly or bring it down? Period. Like I don't think this tanks the album. No,
that's why it's a scale from 1.1 to 5, right? Okay. So like 5 means no effect at all. Nothing's chipping this away. If it does, if you skip like 3 or more songs, I would say that might bring it down by a point.
I'm sorry. Thank you for saying it because I was about to ask. I'm sorry. I'm qualifying everything. But when you say have an effect, you mean skipping songs and scrubbing through the song because you don't want to hear that other shit? It has an effect, a negative effect.
An effect on the classic replay value of it, right? And so Ben asked the question a couple minutes ago. He said, "Give me an example of something that tanks." I think. Another reason this channel exists and Scale exists is to do away with what nostalgia can do to us. Nostalgia can give us revisionist history.
Yeah.
Right. So even though y'all have acknowledged that Workout Plan, Breathe In, Breathe Out, and the skits are detractors, y'all not sure if it brings the album down a little bit?
Nah, not really.
So on a scale from 1 to 5, what we giving this? 5 means no effect at all. Anything less means, yeah, it might have chipped away.
4.
Okay, thought that was easy for y'all.
All right, gotta fast forward. Like this, it ain't no way. I'm definitely like
I'm
not.
I'm skipping shit.
I'm
still,
skipping shit.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
then it's like I'm rewinding on shit. Like I'm rewinding Spaceships twice. You know, so it's like,
right.
You know, that makes up for them songs I had to skip.
The magic number for hip hop albums is usually 12. You can get to like 14. 10 is really gold. That's that Thriller number. But, you know, there's been a few rare albums that go 18, 21, and they're still classics. For the most part, 12 is that jackpot number. It's hard to...
Yeah.
You don't have as many skippables. All right. Agree. Dimension 8, Mass Appeal. Was this album an album that was going to reach a ton of people? Black, white, male, female...
Nigga put gospel on this house. Don't
workout plan. So, I'm just gonna say workout plan.
This thing was making like how, you know, he was doing what Biggie and them did. Like it was concerted. Even though it's very sequenced, it was still very, like you said, everything was strategic. You know, he was like, I'm gonna do this Chicago shit, and I'm gonna get my Chicago people behind me. I'm gonna do this gospel shit, I'm gonna get them. Oh, I got this spool shit. Ain't nobody tapping this black spool shit. I got that market.
I hear what you're saying. Like, sequencing is strategy, but you saying it was creative sequences, but it was in very much intentional strategic.
I think how he sequenced was strategic, obviously, but then I just think the songs that he created were all strategically made to appeal to different. And then the songs you choose for the album, because like we said, he had a lot of songs that we knew about, like Mama, which could have made this album. That's one of his best songs, but it wasn't really fitting the vibe right then, maybe, because he would have probably had to put that instead of Family Business or something.
Right.
And you already got Family Business. And then but like, as far as like, oh no, he's like, I'm gonna get the Backpackers, I'm gonna go get Most, I'm gonna go get Freeway and get the Streets. I got Jay, I'm gonna get more of the Streets. You know, I'm gonna get this nigga and get.
I'm gonna get the white girls.
Workout plan is gonna get me them white girls. You know, whoop, whoop, whoop. And it's gonna get me to Chicago. You know, to make sure Chicago knows Chicago.
I'm gonna get the gospel. I'm gonna get the mainstream. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get that.
Yeah, no, he was definitely. Kanye is not a dumbass. You know, and never has been.
Yeah, if you both were A&Rs in 2004, you could see this as a workable project. You're like, I take this to so many markets, right?
Nobody had seen somebody like this, or.
Right.
If they had been years, you know, it'd been a few years where it just been gangsta, you know, pretty much, and it been, you know, East Coast hip hop, West Coast, there'd been the beef, you know, Tupac, Biggie, De La Soul and Tribe years ago. Most Def and them are off, you know, like pretty much underground, you know, nobody who was prominent.
Yeah.
You know, and Kanye brought that back.
And we're talking about, to Ben's point, you said it better than I could have said it, it's the era of rap being very singles-minded, which I guess it is now more than ever. But when albums still mattered, what the labels were looking for were how many singles do you have on an album? And Kanye made sure that, and that's maybe the gem of this album, is that almost every song is single-worthy. There's a few that are meant to be deep cuts, but most albums have like 7 deep cuts and 3 singles. Kanye had the reverse of that. He's like, I got about 7 or 8. And then when we see the way the singles actually rolled out, we see it play out in real time, right? I remember when the Through the Wire video came out, and we could talk about the videos in this dimension because the visuals were groundbreaking too, right?
Through the Wire
visuals.
Oh my God. When D-Ray's in the front of the car and he's like talking bad to him, it's like that video is like tear-inducing, bro. That shit was so like, you know.
Yeah, we're talking about a mixed media video.
The mixed media I love.
Hella cameos and real-life moments, so you feel connected because you're seeing him get his chain. You're seeing him in the chicken store.
The other sick moment for the D-Ray, the chain, Pharrell, when Pharrell's in the studio with him. And Pharrell like walks out of the studio like, you hear this shit this nigga
play? and this was the turning point for Kanye. This was the very thing that got him the album push, because his album was just sitting around. So he funded the video himself, put it out. Once it made it to Rap City, I know all of us at Howard were like, whoa. And so what that's followed up by, and I know 2 singles came out at the same time, and this is partially why I approached Tati to do the episode with y'all because Tatiana is the first person that I heard playing slow jams downloaded off of, what was it, Frostwire, LimeWire,
Some illegal file sharing
know.
network.
I don't know why we were in your door. I think it was me and Derek. Shout out to Young Blaze, right? We had stopped through, and I was like, "What's this?" You were like, "That's that new Kanye." I was like, "With Jamie Foxx singing?" So like, changed my life because like, I'm like, wait, somebody's making a rap song like this? I didn't know you could do this in rap. He made a slow jam, a rap song.
Yeah.
And to have Jamie Foxx on it, who used to make music that sounded like that in 1994, and Twista, it was like the perfect touch. And then he's saying these comical things. It was the perfect blend of everything, right? And I'm like, oh, this is a hit. This is a hit. Because at that time, I'm a rapper. I'm studying what works in the industry and what doesn't. And I'm like, damn, why didn't I think of this song? I didn't know you could do this. So that's starting to buzz at the same time that All Falls Down is starting to buzz. So either way, he was guaranteed a successful second single.
Yeah.
Which is a perfect follow-up to Through the Wire. Through the Wire gets people talking. And, let's add the element that he's rapping with his jaw shut.
And there's two versions of Through the Wire even. Because the original one that first comes out is like, I think it doesn't have all the talking during the chorus. The same hospital where Biggie and Tupac died, because that's not right. Biggie and Tupac didn't die in the same hospital, okay. And I think because in the first one, did he say Biggie and Tupac in the second one?
No, he just said Biggie Smalls died.
That's right. In the first one, it was the same hospital where Biggie and Tupac died, and it's like, no, nigga, Tupac didn't die there.
So he had to redact that.
He had to edit himself.
That's crazy, but that night, shout out to, rest in peace to Meridian Hill Hall.
Oh, man.
The Ebony Sex Palace.
Yes,
but, yo.
And how?
So, I mean, and that was months before it came out as a single and All Falls Down. But the buzz was there for All Falls Down because, like you said, the different versions had been out. Lauren's original. Version. He performed it on Def Poetry Jam as a poem.
Yep.
So, I mean, either way, he was winning. So those become the follow-up singles right after. And then the world is ready for Jesus Walks. Which, unprecedented. Each song
the video's whack, though.
What'd you say?
The video is so whack.
Jesus Walks? Yeah. Video's whack?
Yeah.
That's when he was literally like walking and it was like fire.
No, the one where he's there's one where he's walking with like a Jesus that's hilarious. But then there's there's the one with Stacey Dash, right? Ain't that, or is that
All Falls Down?
That's just garbage. Yeah, that was the one.
You didn't like that when he was like she was like chasing him after, like leaving with him, like he was leaving at the airport and they was going. He was like on the X-ray machine rapping.
I guess it
did
like
have
that
some moments. Like, what are you talking about?
All right,
this is before we knew who Stacey Dash was.
That's true. Yeah,
that's
she was still Stacey Dash. She was still Stacey Dash back then.
It was POV. It was shot from POV perspective.
And they're following through the airport.
I like that video.
I'd have to watch it again.
Then, I mean, every video, I think there were like two versions of Jesus Walks video.
I think there's one where he's walking with a white Jesus or something.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah. I've never seen that.
And it's like real low budget looking and stuff. Yeah.
It got scrapped. I think that's the Cootie and Chike version.
Yeah.
Then you got the big budget version.
Yeah.
But without these singles rolling out the way they did, you wouldn't have gotten the legend of this album, right? It was perfect timing, as Tatiana said earlier. Like, timing was everything.
Yeah.
This becomes a shared single between Twista and Kanye on both of their albums. Yep. Genius. And then Workout Plan was, I think, the final official single from this album. And he had the video for it. I remember there being ads commercials that used to play between BT Uncut just for that song.
Yeah.
And I was like,
they pushed that song.
They did.
Yeah, they spent money. He believed in it, and I think that was by that point, they'd made so much money off this album that they were like, whatever, Kanye. They can just. This was single number 5 or 6, so it's like, he probably paid for that himself, though. I bet, because they wasn't coming up no money at that point either.
And I think the other songs were B-sides, right? I think Get 'Em High was a B-side.
Yeah. Get 'Em High is on one of the singles. 2 Words is on one of the other singles. Yeah, they're all B-sides.
So I mean, he got most of this album out there in rotation.
And one of those has a video, right? 2 words has a video, I think.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it has the black and white video. Yeah, 2 words, and they're on the rooftop, and they're killing that shit. Yeah. That video is fire.
Because that was out. That was like his original buzz single.
Yeah. And it wasn't popping, and then Through the Wire happened, and that's when it all came together. But yeah, that video was fire.
Yeah.
That song was so crazy.
What did this album go on to sell that first year?
I don't know. Double platinum? Quadruple? This was when rap was stupid, boy.
Yeah.
Like, man, rap was so...
Mary
Ben Ami having an album off of this is like evidence of rap's being just like...
The College Dropout debuted at number 2 on Billboard 200, selling 441,000 copies the first week. And these are pure sales, right? This is not streaming. This is before all that shit. This
you had to go in the store and buy that shit. You had to drive and spend gas. And
I read that up until as recent as 2014, it was still his best-selling album.
Yeah, it said domestic sales of over 3.4 million copies by 2014 and was certified 4 times platinum in 2020.
There it is. That's what I mean. It was silly back then, man. It was just like, it was silly. It was silly.
The East Coast accents are killing me. Tatiana said, honey.
you in the West Coast too long. That's what this is.
That's what it is. All right, this is easy for y'all. Sounds like y'all both giving this a 5 for Mass Appeal.
Oh yeah.
No,
not even a question. 10.
All right.
Absolutely.
Takes us to my favorite dimension. Dimension 9, the 3 I's. That's impact, innovation, and influence.
Ooh.
5.
Yeah. Well, no, not innovation. Not innovation. I'll say.
You don't think it's innovative?
No, I think it is innovative, but 5. You know, when it's like
explain to me so I can understand.
When De La Soul, when people had already laid out the blueprint, and that's something I was talking about. Like I had to think about when you said that about slow jams, and I've talked to Tatiana about this, and I feel like there's a real problem with hip hop, and I don't know why it's like that, but there's a short-term memory in hip hop. You know, like people, like I'll mention stuff to Tatiana where it's like 10 years before her time, and she'll be like, "What?" Or 5 years before her time. But no, so I'm saying this is not a fault of you, but it's weird to me when it's like when I was coming up, you know, if it was like 10 years before my time, I would know it. You know, if it wasn't rap, it'd be some other music my parents listened to and shit like that. And it's just, I feel like I know there's more music, there's more stuff to draw your attention. There's 20 million TV shows, there's all these different things going on in the world where it's a lot more difficult. But it just feels like we forget, like, you know, Slow Jam wasn't the first rap slow jam. You know, I gotta think about that. You know, it's like, and it was like there was tons of them, you know, but then, like, and what Kanye was doing wasn't that innovative, but it hadn't been done for a few years.
Yeah.
So it seems so super innovative. But like, yeah, Tribe had done albums with skits. You know, De La had done the skits to death. All this had been done. You know, a themed album had been done.
Yeah. Well, I guess I wasn't thinking when I heard innovation, I wasn't thinking these elements were they're innovative or not, just the sound and the
but even the sound, sped up rap, you know, that stuff had been done.
Okay.
Like overall, it's it a 5 on innovation.
Okay. Now that you give me more
that's for,
information.
you know, impact 5.
5, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree that I think musically, I think you said it best. Like musically, he's not inventing anything, but he's responsible for so many resurgences, right? Like even what we were saying with the features, like helping to resuscitate some of these other rappers' careers or bringing soul samples back to the mainstream, right? But here's where I will say he's innovative, and I think you guys have been touching on it this whole time. He created a lane, which was such a no-brainer. Shout out to Brandon Carter. We used to make mixtapes. Everybody on Howard was a rapper when we were on the campus. Verbal Armageddon was the biggest thing. There were so many campus thugs. I coined the term campus thugs back then because I could not for the life of me understand.
Niggas would reinvent themselves as freshman, first day of freshman year.
Bro, I had intro psychology with you. Like
niggas was never a thug until they stepped foot on that campus.
So we couldn't understand for the life of us why no one just decided to just go to humor lane or just be in the middle. Like, hey, I'm not a punk, I'm not a backpacker, but I'm also not a gangster drug dealer either.
Because it requires nuance. And so many people lack nuance. And it does require a level of courage that a lot of people don't have, right? It's easy to do the thing that everyone's used to and not worry about like, oh, I might get clowned for it and that. Like Kanye had and has that perfect level of arrogance where it's just like, I'm gonna do this shit anyway and fuck you if you don't like it. I know this shit good. You'll catch up.
Yeah.
And this is like, and then like when I talk about like it having been done before, like De La, this is 2004, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is like 11 years after De La. So it's like, you know, or De La's prime. So it is, you know, it's like for like that's 11 years. That's generational. So I would say it's very, you know, influential and very like innovative in that way.
This is where I refute that, because with the thing with the native tongues rappers is they never were seen, and I just reviewed 3 Feet a couple weeks ago. When De La first came out, they were seen as the hippies. Hip hop, and they didn't want that, which is why De La So Is Dead came out, and they were self-deprecating. But by the time they did De La So Is Dead, they were kind of seen as I don't know what they were seen, but they were never seen as cool. People want to be like Kanye. True indeed. Why I say he carved the lane is because he legitimately, sort of like Anakin, right? He was the chosen one to bring balance.
Q-Tip though, I gotta say Q-Tip. You know,
Q-Tip came close. I'll say that. But
man, everybody wanted to be Q-Tip, and every girl wanted Q-Tip. You know, like, ooh. I mean, what he calls been out. Everything's been out by then, bro. Q-Tip's a sex symbol at this point.
Oh, get out of here. That was a fluke.
It was I mean,
that was a fluke,
that
right?
nigga put on 50 pounds of muscle for a reason, bro. It wasn't that big of a
Kanye made everything he was doing cool. He can make this song about self-consciousness be a sing-along song.
Yeah, definitely.
It became an anthem for people. He made Jesus Walks, even, you know, people who don't believe in Jesus, right? There was a coolness because he's still talking about materialism. He's still talking about, we know how sex obsessed he is, right? So he's relatable. And one thing that he also brought in, I know he didn't invent this either, but we rap. I was just thinking about it. Well, I'll talk about this more in category 2, but he really brings in, and this is his superpower. This is the one thing that Kanye is good at, which is why when you listen to an album like Graduation, what's that song that everybody loves? Everything I Am, right? He's like, I never be pretty like Beyonce. I never be black like Chauncey. Y'all remember Chauncey? Like, he talks like how we talk in a late night session, in a late night all-nighter or after party sitting in the car talk. Like, he always says we spend our child's, what do you say, son? We do this and that. We spend our kids on income tax. He talks like
he's talking for the people.
He's talking for black people. He's like, y'all know how we get down. He's not doing so much, as many I statements as he makes. He's always talking about we, or talking the way comedians talk. Really, that's something we hadn't heard in rap so much.
And it was so interesting listening to this shit, because it's like, damn, when did, like, I'm like, how rich, like, this was my thought listening to the album, was like, how rich do I have to get to where I don't relate to the niggas anymore? Yeah. You know, like, when, like, because, like, for me, I couldn't imagine getting that rich, you know? Like, personally, I just couldn't. Because I feel like I'm older, where I've lived too long and I've been through too much and I know money don't mean shit. You know, and he got money a lot younger, maybe, but it's still like, damn, nigga, what happened to you? You know, how much money did you get where it turns you into the nigga that you are now versus this nigga? You know, like...
Yeah.
I think it has a lot to do with him losing his mother, but that's another show.
That's a whole other show, yeah. But that money, too. It's the money and losing your mother, I think. It's the combo. Because it's like...
Once he started rapping about bleach buttholes...
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. It's like, that ain't your mom, Dawn. That's just money. That's something
that is the song on some money shit. And I will stand behind this to the day I die. I feel like that ruined. If you want to talk about something ruining something, nigga, to me, that line ruined it for me.
I called him my boy and I was like, yo, this is the greatest song he's ever made, until he started rapping.
That shit was so immaculate, and then
this nigga
bleaching assholes. Like,
so I would give him innovation points for creating that lane, because you know, from that lane, that naturally takes us into the influence conversation, which we know how hip-hop works. I tell people all the time, hip-hop is just one big scared show. Once one person walks through the door and does something, people are like, oh, we can do this now? Like when Jim Jones decided it was cool to wear tight jeans and thermals and punk rock chains, hip-hop started doing that. When Jay-Z said everybody wear blazers and jeans, Everybody did
He
it.
was like, we're not doing the throwbacks no more.
Right.
Y'all niggas went and threw them
And they
shits
got
in the
through shit. I
trash.
threw so
I've
many
never seen a night and day situation like that.
hurt
Yeah,
when breathe,
neither have
boy.
I. And we
How
saw
many-
it on Howard's campus in real time. Yeah.
Shit, I saw it in the club. I was at Love nightclub throwing my oh well, I can't wear these anymore.
Oh, snap.
Hang down
Love
up
it.
against the wall, give me some button down.
Could you imagine someone with like an extensive Michelin-esque collection? Like when he
No, I
said
didn't have that bad.
looking like
I never. Yeah, I was so glad I wasn't, because I knew cats like that. I knew cats who had,
Yes.
all $350 jerseys, 20 of them, and just had to put them shits on mothballs. Like,
And so from Kanye, all these other rappers come out the woodwork.
Yeah.
There's no Drake without Kanye,
none.
right?
None.
You can now speak about emotional things or just middle normal people things, but still be fly. That's one thing De La lost along the way. There was no flyness to them. They were just, by the time Stakes is High came out, they were like the uncles of hip hop, right?
Oh yeah, I mean they were the uncles when they started. That's the problem. They were young uncles.
Yes. Oh man, that is brilliant. I'm quoting that. I'll give you royalties every time.
Young uncles.
Young uncle.
Yeah, they were definitely young uncles. Like,
But yeah,
they were, cause they, like you said, they just weren't cool, and it was like it was too obtuse, It was for the nerds, like.
Yeah.
They were just so nerdy, and they were incredible. And De La Soul was like, it's out there with Outkast, of my two favorite groups of all time. In the story, like,
yeah.
classic.
Kanye was trying to be the opposite of Outkast.
Yeah.
Even in his new stuff, his beats might be experimental, his points, but he's always trying to say stuff that you understand.
Yes, and it's there, and that's why I love Kanye, and that's me. Like and that's why like our show, like we'll take the nerdiest stuff, and like when I was talking about that podcast before, like. I don't like the ultra nerdy shit. Like somebody even asked me a music question.
I don't either.
About because we were talking about Transformers the movie, and he was like, "Yo, do you want to talk about this? How at the second verse of the song it goes off beat kind of?" And I was like, "Nigga, I've never noticed that before in my life. Like the song's a banger. That's all I know. I don't think about music that way, where I'm gonna sit there and break down, how you wrote it and everything. It's like, is it a banger or is it not? And I'm more of like, keep shit simple, stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. It's like one of my favorite phrases. So
most people are, and and I understand that. So that's why this show is for like rap fans to think a little more critically.
No, and I like this approach is
this
dope
approach
versus,
makes sense.
Yeah, because this approach is like versus like, I don't care about the technicalities of things.
Gotcha.
And if you're starting to get into, because like that's like the dude sent me this video of the dude talking about the song, man. He was like, the music structure of the song's written like this, and he was like, it's perfectly fine. But I don't like it. So that's when I turned it off. He was like, some people might say this is fine, but it just looks, turn it off. Because it's like, nigga, that's your opinion.
Like,
it doesn't matter. It's like that.
And you're very deep in the weeds, and it's just like,
I'm not
where's
gonna get into,
where's
like,
the entertainment value in this? This has entertainment value.
Yeah, I'm gonna say Kanye did some dope chops, but I'm not gonna sit there and be like, and on the 8th bar he did this, like.
Yeah.
And it was a hi hat instead of a snare, so I got upset.
I let Track Live do that for 2
cares?
seconds and show me visually. I don't want to sit there and talk about it for an hour. Yeah.
I'm glad I don't have more music knowledge than I do, because I think I would veer into that. So I'm glad my ignorance.
Well, we
keeps
would
me
veer
being-
your ass right on back. Like, we don't want to talk about that, nigga. Like,
I know some shit, and that's the other thing. I don't know enough where I want to be sounding stupid. So I'm not gonna sit there and be like, "Oh, he did this with that," because I think that's what he did, but I'm not 100% sure.
I feel you.
But you could have that conversation with the right person, right?
You
You
can.
was talking to young Guru, you would probably have that type of conversation.
Yeah,
more
but even Guru would never get into like the weeds like that, man. About
I don't know.
music.
I'm just saying.
I've had
Talk to
hours.
you were talking to the expert about that.
So on the 3 I's, impact, innovation, influence, what are y'all giving this album?
I would say 5. After hearing your arguments, I had to say 5. Yeah, because making it cool is something that nobody had really done like that.
Yeah.
I yelled out 5 before you even explained, and I'm gonna stand on business and stick on 5.
So that takes us to the very final dimension in category 1, dimension 10, the overall timelessness and uniqueness of this album.
I keep laughing because he's like category 1.
Yeah, no, we never made it. I thought we were going to make it.
I thought we was doing it. I guess not.
I thought we were doing 2.
But I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was laughing. Go ahead. Say that again. What this category 10? I mean,
So dimension 10, the overall timelessness and uniqueness. So in the pantheon of classic rap albums, where does this fit as a unique body of work, and is it replayable? Does it have listenability if you were introducing this album to a youngin today, would they see the value in it, or would it sound like 2004?
5. No, I would hope not. I don't think so. Listening to it now, I don't think it does. It ain't like you said, like when you hear the Dipset soul samples, where you're like, oh no, this is 2005. Yeah, like when you hear when you hear the lesser producers do the soul samples, so it's like they were so basic with it. They loop one thing and call it a day.
Yeah.
What about the records that sound more like backpacky? And that was like a specific era that you don't hear anymore. Like, I think
you don't hear niggas rapping
younger, like Gen Z or younger, would hear that and be like,
yeah, you're right.
That sounds kind of old. Now, to me, that's not a. Just to answer that question, I'm just answering that question. No, I think they could tell. They'd be like, oh, that's kind of old. I think you heard slow jams right now. That shit would still go hard. Like, that shit would still go.
But would it sound old? I don't know.
Not necessarily, because
you just brought it makes me think it would, but I don't. Yeah.
Well, no, but I was talking about backpacky type. Sorry.
Okay, yeah.
You're talking about like Get 'Em High, like Get 'Em High.
Yeah, like that to me sounds like a older era.
Get 'Em High is like damn near a '90s record.
Nobody's fucking rapping like that no more, and the beats don't sound like that no more.
Nobody does a basic ass chorus like that.
Right.
Get 'Em High.
No one's listening
hands.
to that right now.
And back then, that was a hot beat. That was like, oh,
yeah,
trying to catch the beat.
Yeah. That shit's hard.
But I reference something on this channel often called the cheat code. When you sample from a popular song already, it's kind of a built-in, it's gonna work because there's a familiarity factor. Like A House Is Not a Home by Luther Vandross is already a classic. Whether you listen to it as a youngin' or not, someone in your family, in your household, listen to that song. There's a familiarity factor. So for him to tack on his now famous song to something that was already famous, it lives that much longer. So it has a timeless factor built into it. Same thing with the Lauryn Hill song. Like the Lauryn Hill song, Mystery of Iniquity was not a big deal on its own. This All Falls Down
was so big. Lauren's voice, and people hadn't heard Lauryn in so long, and then it was like he made that out. He made that song. You know, I took a hot line and made it a hot song, and that's what it was like. So it's like, damn, we haven't heard Lauryn sound like this in so long. But it's Lauryn sounding how we miss Lauryn. So it was like, yes, this is a hit. That was a no-brainer. That's why when Lauryn didn't clear it, that nigga was like, well, I got to do something because this shit's such a fucking brainer. Like, ain't no way.
So it works. He's breathing new life into some of these samples that he made and still making it his own. So I think, that affects, whether it sounds, and at the heart of it, it's music. It's not. Breathe In, Breathe Out is the laziest beat on here, which is why it doesn't stand up as much. But the rest of them, because he's pulling from a musical space, he wants to have parts 1, 2, have a violin section at the end. When you hear two words still sounds like a big song.
And like Through the Wire, like I was talking about earlier, how it's chopped, like, and, it's like there's like the verse part, and then like even when he's coming back into that part, it's like he checked. So it's like there's different shifts in how he's chopping, where it's a whole song and not just one 8-bar loop, over and over again.
Right.
Which is Breathe In, Breathe Out.
Yes. Yeah. And to your point, he raps that Mace influence allows him to be very listenable. Like you can play this in the background. If Spaceship is playing in the background, you're still able to sing along with it, right? After I'm the manager.
Man. And it's so great. Yeah. That's beautiful, man. That's
so no songs on here sound dated to y'all?
Yes.
No, yeah.
I said
it. And breathe, whatever. That
breathe in, breathe out. Okay.
And when I say date, the level of production, and maybe like y'all said, there was different versions. It sounds grungier, like dirtier, like you weren't using as good like equipment or something.
Yeah.
So that's
stuff they said was recorded at his apartment, and
like it sounds like it was recorded in an apartment.
Through the Wire, even now it's like, damn, they not master this shit or something.
And just from a level of like professionalism, I guess you can tell like, oh, this is different from the others. This is before you got your deal and after you got your deal. So
that's like my boy always points out. Best I Ever Had. He's like, go listen to Best I Ever Had and listen to the first verse. And you can tell he recorded the second verse after he got a little money and bought a better mic.
see, that sounds like that technical nerdy stuff you said you don't like.
No, but that's just hilarious shit to me.
1 to 5.
I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
What y'all giving this on the timelessness and uniqueness?
4. But see, that's tough because I think some of it, like like All Falls Down might sound like 2000, but it's timeless.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think Jesus Waltz is timeless. You know, like Spaceships, timeless.
And
Slow
not
Jams,
because of
timeless.
nostalgia, like they still just slap.
Yeah.
Mm.
But not only did they just slap, like when I was opening the album and he's like, if this your first time listening to this, you know, and I was like, damn, if this was my first time listening to this shit would sound like some fire.
Yeah, if you were an alien that came to this planet and just popped it open.
Yeah, no, cause I hadn't heard that first song in a minute, you know, so I was like, this shit's incredible.
Okay, he keeps asking us to rate, and we just will not rate this shit. Well, you said 4.
Yeah, I say 4 to 5 though. That's tough. Like that timeless. That's a tough question to me.
4.5.
4.5. All right, and with that concludes our Category 1 review of the 20-year-old classic, The College Dropout by the old Kanye West.
We ain't talking about nothing else.
By the old Kanye West.
I got a book coming out before we go.
Yeah, can we plug our shit?
So I wanna shout out my guest, my very, very special guest, who really don't need any introduction. I'm gonna go one by one, and then I'll ask y'all for all nerds question.
Okay.
So Benhameen, what is cooking and what's coming up next for you?
All kind of things, but mainly right now, Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze. You can pre-order it. If you follow me on any social media, you can look at my bio, and we're doing a special run of signed copies with anyone comics out of Brooklyn, New York, but they will ship it nationwide to you. So you can go to my bio at DJ Benhameen, click the link tree, and order yourself a copy of Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze. It's a space opera, black ass graphic novel with some of the most beautiful artwork you'll ever see in your life. It's revolutionary, it's innovative. It's personally a love letter to black music, not just to Jimi Hendrix, but to black music in general. It's also a story about finding yourself and finding redemption and finding that inner spark that drives all of us again.
This is Jimi Hendrix. This is sanctioned by this man, Jimi Hendrix. Niggas just can't sit here and start telling stories about Jimi Hendrix just because they fucking feel like it, okay? This is the real official type shit. And that's why I was waiting for Ben. He's being a little too humble for my taste. Right. I don't like it. So I'm here to fucking hype it up and amp it up. No, this is, yes, it's a love letter to about blackness and music and Afrofuturism and all this other stuff. Heard with a legendary artist. Tell the artist, the legendary artist.
Yeah, Tom Mandrake, who is an absolute legend. You can Google him. He is just one of the greatest of all time. And he himself told me that he was super inspired by what me and Mello Brown, who is my writing partner, my brother, who I wrote this and created this with. And so for a legend like that to say he was inspired by what we wrote, we really did some shit. Because this man has done everything.
For y'all words to inspire that?
And it's still, like, I'm not self-deprecating, I'm not down on myself, but it's like, I know we created some magical shit, but I also have to let other people see that. So
okay,
I'm super fucking proud of this. Like I'm beyond proud of this, and I think that we have created one of the best books you'll read this year or any time ever. I think it's something super fucking special.
How long of a journey was it for you? How long?
Damn.
My whole life.
No, I mean, literally, I had to have like connections with Jimi Hendrix at tad back where it felt like this was just, my path was leading to this a lot of my life. But I've actually been physically working on this for this year it'll be 3 years.
3 years.
Because Mello hit me up during New York Comic Con 2.5 years ago. Like that Saturday, he called me and was like, yo, would you like to pitch this Jimi Hendrix book? And I think we pitched like 2 weeks later, and then we've been working on it since. And I finished the final lettering pass. I want to say last year, like last November or December was when I was like done with my actual work on the book. And now it's just for promotion and talking about it on all this type of thing.
What's the publishing imprint?
Titan Publishing. Titan Comics is the publisher, done in, like Tatiana said, done in conjunction with the Jimi Hendrix estate. And like she said, there's only been like, I think Andre did a movie of Hendrix and he couldn't even use the music. We were allowed to use the music in this book, all this stuff. We had access to Hendrix that people just don't get. It like that's straight up. It doesn't happen. They're really tight with the estate because they really are respectful of his image and all this stuff. And we came to them with our pitch, and we just told them that me personally, like I said, I think he is the greatest guitarist of all time. It's either him or Prince, and I really don't care which one. But I just always want a black man to be the number one, and I just think that he is so influential in everything from every form of music ever. And so we just really wanted to tell that story, and so they really believed in us, and we worked it out, and here we are.
So dope. I wore the right color for this episode.
Hell yeah.
As a comic and graphic novel fan and a fellow author, like, that is so dope. We will shoot if we can. I was about to say I want to do a giveaway, but I don't know if I have enough viewers.
Let me know.
You over 1K. You got over 1K subscribers.
Yeah. So if you got one, we can give away a book. That ain't no thing. Let me know. I'll figure we can figure out something, like if we want to do something with anyone where they want to, because anyone can ship it. I can sign it to the person. Anyone can ship it to anywhere, so we can work that out.
Yeah, anyone comments in Brooklyn.
It might be I can purchase it and give it away, because that's how because I want to support. Tatiana, what you got cooking up?
Okay, I ain't doing shit.
Stop lying. I ain't gonna let her not hype herself either.
No, so I came into this media game being a tech blogger.
Yes.
So that was you may remember, you may not, but that was my bread and butter. So I'm getting back into that, not to blogging, but to doing more tech coverage and like literally going back to consumer tech and stuff like that. So I'm literally recording shit as we speak, putting up a bunch of stuff. So you'll start seeing that. My name has my title was the Grand Duchess of Tech. So that shit is, because you remember that shit is coming back, because apparently no one has been in that lane for some time because I decided to take a break, but I'm going back. So that's what I'm doing. Benhameen and I, obviously, we have For All Nerds, where every week we release our show. Sometimes there's 2 shows. We also are on every podcast platform known to man. We are also on YouTube. We're also on Twitch. Honestly, you type in For All Nerds on Google and all that shit comes up. And we have a fairly prolific social media sphere too. So we always our voice is always being extended in all of these different mediums and methods. So that's that, and that's a huge thing for me. Also, just on that For All Nerds lane, we have merch. If y'all didn't see,
some of
both
the dopest t-shirts out there.
Let me stand up real quick so you can see. But this we are relaunching our store in April, forallnerds.com. I'm sure we'll give you the links and all that other stuff. We'll give you links to Ben's book. We're going to pre-order Ben's graphic novel. Pardon me. We're going to give you the link for the merch store. And like I said, we're coming back. So we have the Gucci Mandalorian shirt. We have Lionel Richie. You got to go to the site to see what that looked like.
Yo, the Lionel Richie is classic. They're kind of a big deal. Go check them out. And since they plug their merch, I got to plug my merch.
Yes.
If you go to the store, you still got the I Used to Love Her shirt.
Oh, that's dope.
Oh, that's cute. I like that.
Well, this is the exclusive version with the silhouette of the singer Her. But
Okay.
there's other versions.
I'll buy one. That's cute.
Yeah.
I used to love her. But yeah, man, thank y'all very much. Let's not make this the last time. We might do a part 2. We might not.
Yeah.
But
Real quick, you can find me at Tatiana King on everywhere. I'm at Tatiana King generally. Ben is at DJ Benhameen, and to mention, you can find both of us at For All Nerds.
and thank y'all once again. This has been Category 1, and join us for the next episode. They're gonna laugh every time I say Category 1. Join us for part 2, where we go over the rap performance on this album. Until next time, you know what it is. F a rap critic. They talk about it while I live it.
Hey.
Word to meth.
Word up.
Word of 16.